Let's talk to one of our brother broadcasters. You hear him here every day. It's our friend Hugh Hewitt. He's on the line right now. Hugh, good morning to you.
Hey, Scott. Hi, Riley. Good morning.
How you doing?
Good. Well, I'm not good. I've been reading about the Charleston shooting and was just studying the pictures of the killer released about 10 minutes ago by the Charleston police. And he looks like he's 22 or 23 years old. Have you guys been looking at this?
Yeah, I think they say he's around 21 and stayed in the church for an hour before he started his shooting spree, which is just incredible. Apparently told one of the church members, I will spare you so you can tell others what happened here. Something along those lines. Just awful, terrible. I know... Go ahead.
And what demons are in his head? You know, it reminds me of the Aurora shooting in Colorado with the same awful result, with a racial overlay, obviously. It's Charleston, and it's going to be played up as a Southern black massacre as opposed to a crazy person gunning down Christians. Sadly, we're used to massacres in churches in Egypt where cops are routinely slaughtered, but this is a pretty horrific crime this morning.
Your friend and ours, Robert Costa from the Washington Post, actually is in Charleston. Jeb Bush had an event, and so Robert has been tweeting, reporting virtually, or not virtually, but literally all night long. His Twitter feed is fantastic with video, pictures from this morning's press conference as well, so you can follow at Costa Reports for some of that info. But this is not 9 people dead. This guy should be subject to the same sort of manhunt that we saw for the Boston bomber, don't you think? I mean, this guy's deadlier than the Boston bomber, for goodness sakes.
Yeah, everybody knows. Somebody knows who he is. They have his make and model of his car. I think it's a blue Acura. Maybe it's a Toyota. I can't enlarge the screen. And someone knows who he is, right? You put out 2 pictures of this with any 21-year-old you know.
Right.
And you'll recognize him. If it's your brother, your sister, your son, your daughter, you'll know who this is. And you will call the police, and so he's hiding somewhere. I just hope he hasn't... Remember, the Aurora bomber had rigged his apartment...
Correct.
...to be blown up when entered. And when people have these elaborate death fantasies in their head, who knows what he's got planned next. So I'm sure it's a tense... My publicist, I'm walking around doing the tour for the Queen.
Right.
And I've been in New York for 3 days with Sarah, the lovely Sarah from Hachette and Anchor Books. And Sarah is from Charleston. And just yesterday, I posted this over at HughHewitt.com. She was telling me that Travel and Leisure magazine, much to my surprise, had ranked Charleston as the 2nd most important city to visit in the world after Kyoto, ahead of Florence. That's how beautiful it is. And I've been to Charleston. I'm sure maybe you guys have been down there.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah. But that was just yesterday, and then I come home and turn on the news after a long day of schlepping and selling the Queen, and there's this mayhem. It's truly awful.
And this is the sort of thing you talked about, 21, 22 years old. At least one of the things maybe law enforcement is looking at right now, I'm sure they are, is social media presence. Because in today's world, a lot of these guys who are doing this have left little nuggets on social media. They've tied it in somehow. Might be a way to run them down.
Obviously. Someone's got to know him. And that's, if anybody has a suspicion, they shouldn't hesitate for a moment down there. I'm on in Charleston in the evenings, and so that'll be my message. I hope Lanny is sitting in for me today because I got to go over and do Sean Hannity's show. I'm sure we'll be talking about it on Sean's show tonight as well. But whoever knows who it is, mom and dad, whatever, you just got to come through and let them know so that they can find and disarm before he kills again.
Hugh Hewitt is with us. You hear him each night here on WROK from 8 to 11 p.m. His new book is out right now, The Queen, The Epic Ambition of Hillary and the Coming of a Second Clinton Era. So let's talk about the book. You look at the strengths, you look at the weaknesses, and I heard you say this week, or I read a quote this week. You think Hillary will win in 2016. Is that where the genesis for the book comes from?
Yeah, it's a prohibitive favorite. She definitely is. In fact, the Irish bookies run an open book out of Dublin, which has Hillary at 10-11 right now, Jeb Bush at 7-2, Marco Rubio at 7-1. For those of you who've played the ponies out there or know sports, a 10-11 bet is a prohibitive favorite. And I'm not saying that Scott and Riley are doing that, but I'm just saying if you've ever put a bet down in Vegas, 10-11, not a good way to make money because you bet $11 to win 10 back, and it's a mark of what she's got. She got money. She has a machine in the labor union. She has got most of the media behind her. There aren't many morning shows like yours or afternoon evening shows like mine. And she has got, of course, a map, which gives her a great advantage structurally with New York in California and Illinois, your home states in the bag, right? It's deep blue.
Yep.
So she starts with a big lead, and that's why I wrote The Queen. Now, The Queen is my take on what Machiavelli would write today. He wrote The Prince 500 years ago this year, give or take a year. We're not really sure when The Prince came out. And it was his advice to the Medici who had thrown him out of power on how to govern, since he was in jail and had been tortured by them. And we've been in jail and being abused by the Democrats for 8 years now, or 6.5. I wanted to sit down and channel my inner Axelrod. So I went on MSNBC yesterday with David Axelrod and said that and got a good laugh. But it really is, what would I do if I were her to win? And I do that so that by anticipating it, the old saying is forewarned is forearmed. I put out, I expect she's going to run against the Electoral College. I know she's going to run on amnesty. I'm very certain that she ought to run as a hawk because of the rising threat of ISIS. Mm-hmm. And then part two, I run through the dozen Republican candidates. It was an interesting moment yesterday. Scott and I had Carly Fiorina in my studio at the Empire State Building. And Carly's a friend I gave her a copy of The Queen. And I said, look, you'll like The Queen, but I put you in the first chapter of minor candidates. And she said, what? I said, well, look, Carly, when I wrote this, I finished the book 3 months ago, you weren't above 1%. Now you're at 1.8% and rising. So give me a break.
You've asked this question of many of your guests, and it seems to me that, Hillary may lead in the uninformed voter category, but for people who look just a little bit beneath the veneer, and you've asked people this too, name an accomplishment. No one can.
I did that at Huffington Post Live yesterday. Josh Zepps is a young Australian lefty that they have doing interviews. And no one had given him a briefing on me. I don't know what he thought he was getting into, but, I've been slicing and dicing law students for 20 years. And so Josh decided he would mix it up with me a little bit. And I asked the question, okay, Josh, give me one accomplishment, which is I'm not going to play that game. I said, it's not a game. I've got Section 4 of The Queen is transcripts, just a little excerpts of transcripts I've done with mainstream media journalists and lefty commentators. E.J. Dionne, Mark Leibovich of the New York Times, Chuck Todd is in there, Jake Capper's in there, Maggie Haberman is in there, and I asked Molly, name me one accomplishment, and she didn't do anything in 4 years at state except ruin America's position in the world.
Hugh Hewitt is with us. The new book is The Queen. It is out now. You hear Hugh each night here on WROK. It's Roddy and Scott. Hillary is perhaps, as you write, the most ambitious politician we have seen, certainly in quite a long time. Is that ambition, you think, one of the reasons why you put her as a prohibitive favorite? There is nothing she will not do to put herself in a position to win. That includes not talking to the press, ticking everybody off, throwing out pool reporters, not taking questions. She is hell-bent on winning this election.
Yeah, she is pure distilled ambition, and that has great strengths. One of the things that General Stanley McChrystal was telling me last week, he was in the studio, that the enemy, the Islamic State has going for it is resilience, and that Americans have to develop resilience as a key category of characteristic. Hillary Clinton has resilience, and I joke she's like the permanent cornea transplant we didn't know we all had since 1992. She's been in our field of vision since 1992. You can't turn around and not see Hillary. And I don't mean she goes away for a couple of years. Since 1992, she has been front and center in the American landscape. I doubt a week has gone by that you have not seen a picture of Hillary if you lived in New York and maybe most of the country since 1992, because she was the senator after the First Lady, and then she was the presidential candidate, and she was the Secretary of State, and now she's a presidential candidate. Gosh, go away. But she doesn't go away because it's Caligula-like in her desire for this office, and it has led her into, the only way she can win is by avoiding the press. And many of the press have noticed this and they're mad. As you're talking to Morning Joe yesterday, those guys, Mika and Brzezinski, is no conservative or even a centrist, but she's really mad at the way that Mrs. Clinton treats the press.
Yeah, but 5 minutes after she sits down with somebody and answers two questions, Mika's over it, many of the other ones who are claiming to be so enraged by this.
I hope it doesn't go away, because yesterday she took 3 questions. She was in South Carolina yesterday. I am sure that she will take a question or two today about the Charleston massacre, and then she'll cut it off, and she'll vanish for a week. And she will pop up, that's the way, in fact, I advise her to do this. You pop up in a news cycle when something happens that requires comment. You answer a couple of questions, and you give the appearance of engaging with the media, but you don't really sit down She couldn't survive a long interview with a serious journalist. It's impossible, given that she owns Libya. The server itself is a national security crisis that people haven't yet focused on to the full degree that
yes.
be focused on. But so she will not ever sit down for anything that brings her close to the edge of trouble.
Hugh Hewitt is with us. The book, The Queen, is out right now, and wherever fine books are sold, including Amazon.com. We're going to link it up on our Twitter feed. The epic ambition of Hillary and the coming of a second Clinton era. You look at the Republican candidates in the book, too, and, of course, they're all on your show, except for one, right? That's about a couple of specific candidates here. One, Rand Paul, Senator Rand Paul. He was on once, somewhat recently. I heard it, and he pushed it off and was on for 4 minutes and went away. I don't think he's been back since then. Will Rand Paul not do your show, A? And B, is his moment gone because of this incredible focus we have to have now on foreign policy and ISIS?
Well, I hope he comes back. He was on for about 9 minutes the last time he was on, about 3 weeks ago. And I work with his comms team all the time, but I think they have made a decision that they are not going to go in harm's way on shows which are forward-leaning on international intervention. I'm an interventionist. I'm an internationalist. I am a free trader. I am for sending boots on the ground back into Iraq. And I'm such a geek. I watched the replay on C-SPAN last night of the House Armed Services Committee hearings with Ashton Carter and Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dempsey, because this is such a major problem. And I do believe that Senator Paul, who has the highest floor but the lowest ceiling of any of the Republicans, he doesn't really want to, as Hillary doesn't really want to, talk at length about the implications of what General McChrystal told me last week, which is that the Islamic State makes 100 million social media contacts per day, and that it only requires the radicalization of a very tiny percentage of those 100 million social media contacts a day to arm, equip, and bankroll the largest terror state in the history of mankind, which is what we have in the Islamic State.
Who else is on the horizon? You know, we've got Donald Trump making himself front and center recently. What's your take?
Well, Donald will be on with me on Monday, and you're right. They've all come on, and some of them come on often. Ted Cruz was on last week. I expect Marco to be able to be back next week, and Jeb Bush to be back next week. I think the smart play is for, in a field this deep, and it is really deep, it's the opposite of the Cavaliers bench, and you guys have been very nice not bringing up...
I want to bring up the Indians game from last night.
Did not win the championship, and the best player in that series did not get the MVP.
That's
so we'll
true.
Just pass by that. Shouldn't LeBron have gotten the MVP?
I think there's no doubt. I have no problem with players on losing teams winning the MVP if they are clearly the best player. And LeBron carried a bunch of guys who shouldn't be starting on most teams to 6 games.
Well, I don't know what they were thinking. Jerry West won the MVP in a losing cause once before, so it's not unprecedented. And it was remarkable. But I watched that on the road, and it's behind us now. 2016 is Cleveland year. We might win the World Series this year, but the Browns will surprise. The convention's coming.
Yeah.
LeBron will have a healthy. Kyrie will be back. So 2016. So you guys have been very nice about that. But they're all coming on, and they're all doing that because it's important between now and Cleveland, which will be an open convention, to make sure that the conservative base knows who you are and what you stand for. And maybe that's why Rand Paul is reluctant. He doesn't really need to do much more to staple his identity onto the consciousness of the American people. He's a very, very determined candidate, man of character. By the way, great Christian missionary, goes down to Guatemala, does eye surgery. It's an admirable man, but the non-interventionist moment is gone in America. It left when they burned the Jordanian pilot alive in a cage in Iraq.
Hugh Hewitt with us, just another minute or two. It's Ronnie and Scott on WROK. All right, Hugh, if 2016 truly is the year of Ohio, does that mean it's the year of John Kasich?
I love the governor. He comes on a lot. I'm a Buckeye. As some in your audience know, my youngest son's middle name is Ohio, right? That's true. I actually did that. And so I'm from Warren, Ohio, and I'm proudly a Buckeye, and I love having Kasich. Jokes around with me. He always tells me he's calling me in from Warren, and I always fall for it. I fall for it like 5 times. Oh, you're in Warren? He said, no, I'm not in Warren. And it's like it's a Smothers Brothers skit. In any event, Kasich is ebullient, full of energy. He's the opposite of Hillary. He is available and he's talking. Some on the conservative base in Ohio don't like him because he expanded Medicaid pursuant to Obamacare. And I write in the book that this is how, if I were Hillary, I would spend a lot of money right now to take out 4 people. I would spend my super PAC money to make sure I'm not running against Marco Rubio, to make sure I'm not running against John Kasich, to make sure I'm not running against Jeb Bush, and indeed to make sure that I'm not running against Chris Christie. Because I would like, if I'm Hillary, I want to match up against Ted Cruz, even though Ted is a very great danger for her. And my advice and the Queen is that she never agree to debate him. Just simply say, nope, not going to do it. Be prudent. And because he'll take her apart, shoulder and joint. He'll cleave her up like a carcass. And the fact is that she wants not to be against a Kasich or a Bush or Rubio very, very much. So I think she ought to start spending her money. Even as America Rising, our team is spending money against her. I expect her super PACs to start taking out our strongest candidates.
Hugh Hewitt, the book, The Queen, the epic ambition of Hillary and the coming of a second Clinton era, out right now. And very quickly, Hugh, before we let you go, forget everything else the Obama administration has done over the past 6.5 years, is removing Alexander Hamilton from the $10 bill. The worst thing the Obama administration has done.
It really is. He's the first dreamer. I had been to his house in Nevis in the Caribbean. He was born, out of wedlock, without a penny, abandoned by his Scottish father. He made his way to New York. He fought 7 years in the Revolutionary War at the side of George Washington. He led a charge at Yorktown. He saved the United States he got the United States put together with Madison at the Constitutional Convention with the Federalist Papers. He got it ratified. He went on to serve as the Secretary of the Treasury and established the bank, saved us, and he was shot and killed by a Democrat. No wonder they want to get rid of him.
If you're not listening to the Hugh Hewitt Show, you are missing out. If you're not reading The Queen, you're missing out. Go to his website, learn a whole lot more. Hugh, we really appreciate the time you've given us this morning.
Great to talk to you guys. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Raleigh.